The first pro of the Volkswagen Jetta is going to be the price. I think Volkswagen is giving you a lot for your money. The model that we are testing is the SE model, and this is a decent model to go for. It's the mid-spec. They give you things like the IQ Drive Assist as standard along with the heated seats. You get all of that with the SE model, plus you can also option in a semi-panoramic sunroof here. Going with the Sport model, 6-speed manual transmission, that's another pro. They are offering a manual transmission with these Jetta products. You can get that Sport model for around 21 grand, and that is excellent value. They're giving you things like blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert as standard. The Sport model will come with 17-inch wheels, and it'll also come with some form of a XDS cross electronic differential to help manage the front wheel drive power of this, and this car could certainly use it. Volkswagen is also going to throw in LED headlights, LED daytime running lights, all as standard, even in the base models. You get a digital 8-inch gauge cluster also as standard, which I think many people will like. So that's going to be the first pro, all of the standard features and the price point that this Jetta comes in at. A con is going to be, well, the way it just peels out in corners, and that's going to come back to that XDS cross e-diff that I mentioned before. You're really going to want that because even though it's not a true mechanical limited slip diff, it's better than nothing. Whenever you turn in this car, make a left hand or a right hand turn, peels out like crazy. People are just looking and staring at you. It's just not a very dignified look. So a diff, and also if you're an owner of this car, some of the things that you can do is upgrade the tires on this, because here standard we have these 17-inch wheels wrapped in 205 Kumo Solus tires. They could have gone with a 225 wide tire setup, and you as an owner, you can probably get like Continental Extreme Contact or Michelin Pilot 4 all-season tires, and that can certainly help with the grip. And this is going to be another reason why I recommend getting that Sport trim to get that e-diff. Another pro, at least in my opinion, it's going to be the exterior looks. Gone is the Passat. We don't have that anymore, so the Jetta is kind of filling in the shoes of the Passat as well. So you're actually getting one of the larger compact cars in the segment, and overall it's got a mature and dignified look to it. You don't look like the intern when you pull up in this. This car is going to look good 10 years from now, just like the VWs that came before this. Another pro is going to be with this updated 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that produces 158 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque. That sounds like nothing on paper, but trust me, in the real world, this is much quicker than what the numbers would suggest. But that's besides the point. What really matters here with this engine is the excellent fuel economy. It's rated to get around 29 city, 41 highway, but you can meet and exceed these numbers easily with most VW/Audi products. I've been getting like 31 in the city and like over 40 mpg out on the highway. It is very impressive for sure how efficient this car is, and you can even use regular fuel as well. So that's definitely a huge pro. A con for some people might be with the steering. It's very lightweight. I don't personally see that as a con. For me, it's just a very effortless and non-fatiguing driving experience because of this really lightweight steering. That doesn't mean that this steering rack is imprecise. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It is very precise, but it's just when you drive this car in most VW products, you kind of notice that they don't quite have that sturdy and strong German feel like they used to. This feels much more lighter on its toes, and I guess it's trying to appeal to the American market a little bit more. It's trying to give you a more lax driving nature, I suppose. But I guess for some people, it might come off as a con because they expect a more sportier, heftier driving experience out of a Volkswagen, and you're not getting that here. In fact, the Honda Civic feels more German than this, the new one at least. So a lot of people don't like to hear that, but no point in casting stones at the messenger, because I'm just telling you how these cars feel. I didn't make these cars. It's not my fault, but whatever. I guess I'll label that as a con for most people. Overall though, the handling and the ride quality is definitely a pro, because even though we have here an inferior suspension architecture, like we have here a strut-based suspension in the front and a torsion beam rear suspension, this rides like butter. I'm telling you, it absorbs the small bumps and the larger bumps extremely well. In fact, I even had some people sit in the back seat and they rode around with me and they reported that there's no issue sitting in the back. It doesn't feel bouncy or anything. Once again, this car has a great chassis and a well-tuned suspension. It just isolates bumps. It reduces body roll. Yeah, I mentioned that it peels out in corners, but overall, the car feels sure-footed and planted even at speeds. You can take those long sweeping corners at a higher speed, and you don't feel the need to let off the throttle. So it can maintain its speed extremely well. It's got some good momentum going on, I suppose, and the way it just glides over bumps is really well done. And this isn't the first time that a torsion beam suspension has done well in terms of ride quality. The Mazda 3 and the Hyundai Elantra also ride extremely well, even with the torsion beam rear end, and this VW Jetta is no exception. In fact, this rides a little bit better than the VW Tiguan that I checked out. So everyday handling, maneuvers, and ride quality, not an issue, definitely a pro. The interior space is kind of a pro and a con because it's a predominantly plastic interior, and that's definitely a con. I don't really appreciate that, but what do you expect? It's a cheap compact car. At least it feels sturdy and well put together here, almost like a Toyota product. A lot of Toyotas are predominantly plastic interiors. However, they feel good, they feel solid, and this is much the same. The ergonomics are excellent. Like, we have a lot of physical buttons and controls and switches to play with. The overall cabin is a little bit more driver-centric. Everything is easy to reach and touch. One con, though, is going to be with this infotainment. I don't like the fact that they give you this little 6.5-inch display. They could have just upped it to the 8-inch screen and just made that standard across the board, but instead they make you pay up and get the SEL trim level, which is the fully loaded trim. That's almost $30,000. That's the only trim level that comes with a proper 8-inch display, and they will give you a 10.25-inch digital gauge cluster. They do give you an 8-inch gauge cluster as standard, which I think that's great. That's definitely a pro. But the 6.5-inch, it gets the job done, but it just doesn't. It looks a little small and dated today for 2022. Overall, I do enjoy using it. It's very easy. It's quick to react, not an issue. When you go with the SEL with the 10.25-inch gauge cluster screen, that gauge cluster will show you the navigation, directions, and a few more things as well. It's going to be a little bit more of a sophisticated gauge cluster as opposed to this 8-inch screen. Other pros with this interior space, it's going to be the comfort of the seats, but more importantly, the amount of space that you have in here. You can be a giant, you can be an avatar and fit in this car easily. You have headroom, you have legroom in abundance. That's not a problem. Even in the rear seats, you have so much space to stretch out back there. Obviously, if you have like a super large individual sit in the front, then yeah, it's going to limit your space in the rear. But if you have more normal sized individual sit here, shouldn't be an issue. You should have a plethora of space. The trunk is massive, so practicality wise, it's great, not a problem. The refinement in here is also very good, even though it doesn't utilize double pane glass. It's rather quiet in here. But most importantly, the final pro that I wanted to mention is going to be with the safety and the safety tech. Even with the updated side crash tests, it still does rather well. It got a acceptable score, whereas most other sedans, they were like failing the updated side crash test. So I appreciate that. You can be rest assured that you are in a safe car with the Jetta, and they give you things like the blind spot monitoring and the rear cross traffic alert as standard. You can also upgrade to the IQ Drive, which is the semi-autonomous hands-on driving features, where if you have your hands on the steering wheel, it'll use radars and cameras to keep you in the lane, keep you in check out on the highways. That's going to be my quick pros and cons video on the Jetta. If you want to see more of my videos, they will be on the end screen here, and I will see you there.